everybody. How you doing? Welcome to what is it, you guys? It is Win Wednesday. As you all know, I love to celebrate everybody. So we always start out with what's your win? Drop it in the feed and let me know what your win is so I can shout you out. You know, I love to give a good old shout out to you. And then okay. And so then it's Win Wednesday. And then we have always have three assignments. If y'all don't know, I need you to know, get your three assignments together, and then we'll talk about who is joining me tonight. One, it's Win Wednesday. Two, what is your beverage you're drinking tonight? And better yet, what's your snack? Now, y'all know I'm working on the snack now, y'all. Just bear with me, bear with me. I already ate my snack before I came on here. So, and I'm drinking water. So I want to hear what your evening beverage is, or what are you drinking right now? And then number three, go grab your pen and paper because the guests here, as they always do, they drop some amazing nuggets here. So with that being said, tonight is all about going after your what's next. As you know, I always that is the theme. So tonight I actually have on someone who is in the media business just like me, but you get to hear it from a different perspective, right? You hear it always hearing from me. Now you get to hear someone else's voice. And guess what? It's a man, and it's the second one. So I'm super excited about having a male figure here on Vision Made. And so again, those of you who are out here catching us and you have some, drop the kudos. We love kudos. Drop them in here. Real quick before I bring James onto the platform here. If you're not a StreamYard subscriber, all I ask is to give us authority so I can see your comments or whatever you want immediately. All you have to do is give us access so we can see it now. I do see those of you who don't give me that access, we won't be able to see it until afterwards. And y'all know I love to give you shout outs during the show. So don't forget that. But without further ado, let me bring the guest tonight, and it is Mr. James. How are you, sir?
I am doing amazing. How are you?
I am great. Thank you for joining us. So tell
I'm
us.
happy to be here. I really am. And I put my thinking cap on, so I have already streamed this to my pages and to my networks.
I'm so excited. Real quick, everybody, before James and I get to talking, if you have any questions and you don't want to drop them in the feed, you can now. Actually, you can text us at 614-398-3925. And look, I have my phone here. I do have it on now. Normally you guys, I'm so engrossed into the conversation that I sometimes be forgetting the phone, but I do have it on right. I promise you, it is right here today. So I'll be able to see y'all coming in and things like that. But James, I'm excited because now I have a fellow media, yay, on here. Yay, I'm super excited. So real quick, so I've seen that you've been doing this for a while, really for a while,
Yes.
right? And so tell everybody, because look, I'll tell your whole story, and this isn't my story, this is your story. So I'll go ahead and let you talk, and then we go from there.
I was gonna say I don't really want to. I never want to give my age because I feel like I'm always aging myself. But then on the same token, I'm proud of my age and I'm proud of how long I've been in this because I realized that a lot of people get into it and they have trouble sustaining.
Yeah.
So I think it's Cat Queen, my co-host for Transcending the Culture. She popped in the comments. So
Hey, Cat.
here. I used to work with a young lady who kept saying, "Stop aging yourself and stop telling people."
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's really imperative for people to know who I am, not necessarily how old I am, but how long I've been here. And it's been 24 years that I have been doing independent media. So, I mean, I've had my opportunity to work with some of the majors, but at the same time, I was kind of doing my own thing and trying to build my own thing. So it's been 24 years, and I'm so grateful to have been here because I've been doing it. I've been doing it on my own. Like I'm trying, and I love to be here. I love doing this. So that's really what drives me. Even when the money is not necessarily there. And I mean, we talked about some things and trying to fund some things on my own and pulling out of pocket to do X, Y, Z, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't care what kind of struggle it looks like. I love what I'm doing.
I'm like you. I love this. I love the arena, and I haven't been in it as long as you have, but I do love it. I do. I can honestly say I love it. I love where it's taken me, how I got here, and things like that. Did you see what Kat wrote?
That's why I'm laughing. I'm sorry.
See that? Okay.
That's that's why I love Kat. And tidbit of information for anybody who's watching. Kat is my cousin. So that they say you can't work with family, but Kat is like the best thing to happen to me on this media. And this, we are of different generations.
Yes.
And she's definitely younger than me. I got her by a number of years. But it's beautiful because she's teaching me the way of today, and I'm teaching her the way of yesterday, and she's learning the things that, regardless of what's happening today, there's certain things that are just a mainstay. Like, you can't get certain pieces.
But let's be honest, we do need that younger generation to help us. Look, she says, "Thanks for being such a great mentor. Love you." But we need that for the younger. And I always tell everybody, if you pair up with a younger person, then you're 10 steps ahead of those that are just out here working by yourself. And so many people, and I commend you for even sharing this space with her, because also too, how many people do you know that is out here competing instead of not competing? Let's work together, because I feel if we work arm in arm together, we'll get further than we competing.
Absolutely.
I so commend you. And I'm always like, yeah, let me work with a younger person. Look, maybe you could take something off of my plate. And I'm like, okay, me. But
the way things go now, it's, when you start looking at all of these different programs and software, what you have to do to install it, and then learning how to, I'm meticulous about any piece of program or software that I use, because it needs to be user friendly.
Yes.
I need to be able to do it from my phone because I'm constantly on the go. And, there has to be room for the learning curve. And I don't know, how true it really is, but I think that there is really some truth to the idea that as you get older, it's hard to digest a lot of this stuff and really break it down. So there's things that I'm trying to figure out that I know that 15 years ago, I would have had it. Like when you look at HTML and C++ and all of that stuff, like I learned that stuff without any education behind it. Like I just played on the computer and just figured it out. Like I remember going to the University of Akron, and I won't say that I had never been on a computer, but I knew nothing about the internet. I had really only, in high school, I really only got on the computer to do resumes and stuff like that.
Right.
And outside of that, I knew nothing about the internet, but I figured out how to design websites and designed the Bone Thugs-n-Harmony website that, eventually kind of became one of the biggest little fan sites out there, which ultimately is what got me into blogging. And then that led to me getting into media. So
that's nice. So, there are so many people out here around the world that are listening like, man, okay, I haven't even started. I don't even know, but this sounds something like I want to do. What would be your one piece of advice for them?
You just in terms of figuring out what they want to do?
Yes, in the media arena.
I just think that you have to, to me, it's all about being happy.
Yes.
I have never been anybody that has been driven by the dollar, and that could be good and it could definitely be bad.
Right.
I like money does not motivate me the same way that it motivates other people.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I got a house payment and I got a car, and my kid got a car, and car insurance for both of us, and phones and like everything. I have all the same stuff that everybody else has, and I need money. Absolutely need it. I need it for this business, but on the same token, I can't push for the dollar like other people push for it, because then I find that I'm in a space where I'm not happy. So to me, it should be about what makes you happy, what makes you feel good, like what comes easy to you. And it's not, Like I could do media and interviews and press, and I could do it all day long, day in and day out, and I don't have no problem with it, whether I'm getting a penny for it or not. Like and there's been many years that I had been doing it and wasn't making a penny, and I
Right.
felt it was like in heaven. So to me, it's about what makes you happy. So I just say look for what makes you happy and what drives you to even exist. Like I feel like I feel like this is ordained by God. Like it's meant
Right.
for me to do this. So
I
I
agree
can't see
with you.
myself
I so agree with you because I love this. I was like, man, why didn't I do this earlier in my life? You know, but you're
I
right.
mean, I think even my mother starting to understand it now because
Yes.
the conversation had always, you got these degrees and you have this and you drive an Uber and you do it, and I'm just like, but I'm happy though. Like
Right.
blood pressure ain't high and I ain't got headaches and I ain't running around crazy and mad at the world and fussing at everybody, and like I feel good. Like I wake up in the morning and I'm smiling. Like I don't wake up worried and pressed and just stressed and
Yeah. Yeah.
depressed and all that kind of stuff. I wake up, and like this morning I got up and I think I laid in the bed for 2 hours just scrolling on my phone and looking at media stuff and listening to Ricky Smiley, and then I finally got up and said, okay, well let me get up and go work and actually do something.
Right. I
But
like it. And
I feel
Kat came up and she said something too. Everybody has their own path to success and happiness. And that is a blessing. It is a blessing because where I'm still in corporate. Those of you who are just now tuning in, I'm still in corporate. And I'm always asking everybody every now and then, I'm like, okay, everybody, and then they know. And I'm always like, okay. And they're like, oh my God, here she goes with another question. But I'm always asking them, so what is your what's next? And a 90% of the people that I've asked, believe it or not, they're like, well, if I win the lotto. And I'm like, that is
I
that
will be working and doing media and everything if I hit the lotto. Nobody
right,
would ever know because they'll be like, he's still going to work.
right, because you like what you're doing. But it's interesting to hear that so many people are hoping, leaning on that hope of if I hit that lottery. And so then my next question is always, okay, so what happens if you don't? And they're all like, I don't know, I guess I'll just sit here. And I'm like, oh my God. Then my anxiety went, I think I couldn't breathe a couple times. And I'm like, okay, let me go sit down. So I really did. I was just like, oh my goodness, we can't. We have to start changing and shifting the trajectory it's okay to work where you're working at, but know that your what's next is sitting. And that's, as Kat is even saying, we all have our blessings, and you just have to know lean in to your blessings.
I don't
And
think there's anything wrong with being in the corporate world
true,
at all. And the
true.
reality is, and it's funny that we even talk about this because I have a friend who is a principal at a school system here,
Uh-huh.
and it's a private school, and they were looking for somebody to actually work in the podcasting and do some podcasting with the students and that sort of thing. And while now they've decided, or he's decided to actually, kind of field it to somebody who's there at the school in the arts already. At one point, he was looking to hire somebody, and I had actually told him, well, listen, I would actually come do that. And I'll get up
Yeah,
every come to work and I would do that because it's centered towards what I love to do. And it's
exactly.
towards my passion. I refuse to go and do anything else for anybody else that has nothing to do with my passion, and that's not going to make me happy.
And
So
I
it,
like that though. I like that
it
you are
really
honing right, but I like that you're honing in.
is, and I I would be lying if I said there weren't struggles and
Yeah,
things like that. But
yeah,
I would rather just stomach that and be happy and feel good, as opposed to sitting up all night at Amazon or sitting at the hospital all
true,
night or all day
true.
and not being able to do what it is that I love. And I've been in that space where I can't travel and do this event because I got to work and I can't get the time off.
Right.
And I don't want to call off because then they'll fire me. I don't want that. I just don't want that for me anymore. And the biggest thing out of it is that I'm showing my son, who is now he's in
Mhm.
his year of college, but I'm showing him that you can do what you want to do out here. Like it
Yeah,
doesn't. I'm always striving for something else. My company started with just a magazine. And then I decided, okay, I want to build this podcast network. And I got it launched and it's doing well. And I have several people now actually doing podcasts on my network. And then I said, okay, well, the podcast network was / radio station. So I gave myself a year after I launched the podcast network to get the radio station going. And I haven't gone. So I'm always striving, and I attribute that to my mother, because growing up, if my mother didn't tell me anything else, she told me that I could do what I want to do.
Wow.
And whatever I want to do, I can do it. And no matter what, my mother has supported, even if she didn't agree with it or she didn't understand it, she has supported from day one. And we would always joke that the president knows what I'm doing, because I'm quite sure that my mama told him. And, that sort of thing. My sister just became a judge. And when I tell you that we all were out campaigning for 2 years to get her, to this period. And my mother was out there and her feet hurting. And she said, I'm going out there. I'm going and I'm going to.
That is awesome. That is awesome. That is awesome. And I think that's I love that, because it's so important to have that support system.
Absolutely.
Right? And it's because also a lot of people don't have it, but it's nice to hear that the family and everyone's out there. I think that's so cool that the family that is supporting them. But let's talk a little bit about your magazine. So what is the premises of your magazine? We didn't even talk about that. I don't even think when we were.
So initially it started off, well, I mentioned that I had done a website for Bone Thugs-n-Harmony.
Yes.
And I'll say about Bone Thugs-n-Harmony, because they had nothing to do with it. It was just, how people do fan sites and that sort of thing.
Yes.
This was back in 2000, well, probably maybe 98, 99, I started building that. So I had actually built out a complete website, lyrics, everything. So had that. I was interning for Radio 1 and had an opportunity to make contact with them to try and push that website toward them to be their official website. Did I think it was going to happen? Not really. But I knew that I would make the contact, because I'm pretty diligent about what I want to do and making things happen. And I made the contact, met them, put a proposal in their hands, and that was that. When that turned into nothing, I turned that into a blog. So that was how I actually got into the space of interviewing artists and that sort of thing. So the magazine, fast forwarding 12, 13 years later, because this was all in 2001. So the magazine was launched in 2014. And essentially it was, I guess in a sense, a blog, but it was a way to promote the artists who I love, the music that I love, and to be able to do it on my own terms. I think there's a lot of negativity in media. Yes. And there's a lot of just covering what doesn't need to be covered. So I kind of wanted to be a voice and just do something different and put something out there that was positive driven and something that was encouraging people around me and behind me who wants to get into media and wants to connect with their favorite celebrities, and showing people here in the city that I can be right here in Cleveland and I can still make all the same stuff happen. I don't have to be in Atlanta or LA or New York or any of that stuff. So when I say I've interviewed thousands of artists, and whether they are mainstream or, we can talk about the Chris Browns and the Rihannas, who I got to both of them when they were 16, like fresh.
Wow.
So like I have been doing this for some time, and everything has been positive driven and something that can be encouraging and inspiring to the viewer. So that essentially is what the magazine was something to push positivity. And
I love it. I love it. So how often does the magazine come out?
So I have changed that up quite a bit over the last 20, well, I was going to say 24 years, but over the last decade, because it's actually been 11 years since I launched it. So I've gone from monthly to quarterly to every 2 months to it really was all driven and depending upon kind of my time. Because, for the longest, I really was a one-man show. So It was like, I'm doing this and I'm interviewing this person, and then I got to transcribe all of this stuff. And I go back to the days of the little recorder that you used to record your classes with when you went to school. And I had
Yes.
the little string microphone, and I held it up to the phone, and I'm talking, and they talking, and then I would go back and actually transcribe that
Oh,
word for word, so that when I posted my interviews, my thing was I need them to see that I'm putting exactly what they said. So I'm
yes.
not taking it, I'm not making it anything else. And there were a lot of magazines who did interviews like that, kind of question and answer format.
Yes.
You had
Yes.
like, your word ups and your sister to sisters, and like I still look up to those people, Jamie Foster Brown, and the editor of Word Up and Right On, and I kind of wanted something that would emulate that. So that essentially is what I was doing. But I've kind of gone through, the trenches and pulling
I,
this stuff together, and I love it. Like I wouldn't change anything about it at all. And it's cool to go back and even see the people I've interviewed. Like
yeah.
I just was looking back, and Melanie Fiona posted something, and then it just dawned on me: isn't she from Canada? I interviewed her. And then so I actually sent her a message this morning, and I'm like you were one of my favorite interviews. Like there's
Well,
so many people who I've
yeah.
talked to, and like they said encouraging words, or you just could tell that like they were behind what I was doing. Like so
Yes.
many celebrities have like truly supported what I have been doing. Like the Faith Evanses, she actually did a full issue with me of the
Oh,
magazine
wow.
for the 15th anniversary of her debut out. So, or the 20th anniversary of her debut out. So, 2015 we did that, but that was just like the light of my life
Oh,
for my
yeah.
favorite artist to do a full issue of my magazine with me. Or Angela Robinson from the Haves and the Have-Nots. She did the cover of my very first issue.
Ooh,
And it was just like, you don't know me from a hole in the wall. And you said, yes, I'll do it. Like, that stuff is amazing to me because we all
absolutely.
have dreams, and you want to know that somebody is supporting what you want to do.
Absolutely. Oh, my goodness.
Do the
Yes.
right thing. So, like, it
Absolutely.
always stands out to me. Um, Russ Parr actually got me into the radio station when I got into Radio One. And to this very day, I'm like, thank you so much. And I know he's like, who the hell is this man? And I don't know what, but he called somebody and then sent me a message and said, this lady is looking for you to call. And when I called, she said, yeah, I talked to Russ. Come on in. And I got hired at the radio station.
Oh,
So
that is so cool. That is so cool.
I'm great. I'm grateful for everything and for everybody and for every step of the way.
I understand that. Real quick, if anybody wanted to read your magazine, what's the name of the magazine? And two, where can they even find the magazine?
So it is called, the full name is Urban Grandstand Digital, or Urban Grandstand Digital Magazine. We commonly abbreviated UG Digital. So the website is ugdigital.com.
Okay.
Our issues are on, there's an app in the app stores. It's in the Apple Store and the Google Play. It's called Magster, Magzster. So all
Okay.
of our old issues are in there. The last
Okay.
several years, we've only basically just put information on the website. So actually, our current issue right now is our first actual magazine, our first page flipper in probably 3 years. So that issue is actually going on Magster this week.
This
But,
week. Okay. We'll
but
have to.
all the issues prior to this one, they're probably about, they start maybe about 3 years back, because we had stopped doing the page flipper for a while, and that
I,
really was a financial decision. Just
I understand.
where I was paying for, they doubled the price, and then they took away the monthly feature and wanted you to pay by the year. And I was just like, it's not.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
I said if I could do it monthly, I can stomach it, but I can't give you that for a year.
Oh, you listen, you're talking to the wrong one. I totally get it. I totally get it.
But it's when I tell you God will, and I'm not the most spiritual person, so I'm not gonna say that I am, but I know God. I do have a relationship with God, and
Right.
I'm very cognizant when God is stepping in.
Right.
And it's a lot of way that has been made for me to be able to do certain things. And me putting this page flipper out now, I
Yeah.
think why? Because I just kind of literally stumbled upon a program, and I looked at it and said, I could actually do everything here. And then it
Right.
dawned on me that, oh, it gives me the PDF. I can actually get it back in Maxter now. So I
Right.
figured that piece out honestly 2 or 3 days ago because it's actually been out for about 3 weeks. So I'm excited. I feel like I'm learning and I'm constantly growing, and I'm excited for the future. And
Oh yeah, I'm glad to hear that. And you know what? Also, too, I'm glad you're bringing the magazine back because I'm all about. As I don't know if you noticed, I'm all about research, and so I'm always looking like, what's the lifespan of a magazine? Where is it at? Okay, yes, it died down, and do they project it to come back? And they're saying it's on the heels that by the year of 2035, there will be over 18 billion magazines in paper form. I was like, wow. So those isn't that crazy? That is so crazy. So it's time.
absolutely, I
So
love doing it from a digital standpoint.
I do
Um,
too. I do too.
that really was that. Ultimately, that was my goal. I started off with a print magazine, and when I tell you how much money I spent printing
Oh,
these
don't
issues
tell
and
me.
taking them around to different
Right,
places,
right.
then when they don't all go, then I got to go back and pick these issues up, and
Yeah.
I think after the first 6 months, I said, no, we're going completely digital,
No, I
and
understand
for
because
me,
it's
that's
a tough
been,
it's a
um,
tough it's a tough pill to swallow. But let's change a little bit. As you're doing the magazine, as you also have a radio show. And
yes.
so what's the name of the radio? I already know it, but what if they don't know it? What is the name of your radio show?
Everything pretty much models after, under the UG Digital moniker or the Urban Grandstand moniker. So the podcast network is UG Digital Podcasting, and the radio station is UG Digital Radio. So
It's
actually, there is a separate website for the podcast network and the radio station.
so
They're both on the same site, but it's separate from the ugdigital.com.
gotcha. So the podcast, what is it all about?
So I have the lead podcast on the network is Transcending the Culture, and it ultimately was about spotlighting and showcasing those people who we feel are building the culture, elevating the culture, taking it to another level, and putting something again out here positive that is encouraging and inspiring to the younger people who want to get into this business. That ultimately is what it's about. So anybody, well, I won't say anybody, but all of our guests, they are doing something positive that is, ultimately affecting the urban community. So,
Right.
us.
Right. I love that. I love that. And so where can they catch your podcast at?
So the podcast network is UGD Podcasting and Radio.info. So if you go to that address, it has basically every video and podcast that we have done over the last year and a half, because we launched the podcast network a year and a half
And
ago.
then what about the radio? I'm really interested. Look,
So the
now
radio,
okay, I already got now I can want to jump to the radio piece of it.
oh yeah. So the radio station is still fairly new. We just launched in October.
Okay.
So we do ultimately what I'm doing with the station is I'm blending the podcast and the radio piece of it.
Gotcha.
It took me a minute to get all of the software that I wanted, which I actually do have now. And we are going live April 1st with basically live broadcast. So just the same as if you listen to, I don't know, well, here in Cleveland, it's Z1079 and 93.
Right.
But if you listen to any of your average or your regular radio stations in your respective city, it'll kind of be the same thing. So we're playing music, we are talking in between. We will have guests in the studio now that we actually will be in the studio
Right.
starting April 1st. And then we also have the podcasting piece of it as well. So my radio show is called The Entertainment Plug. I've actually been running the Entertainment Plug for about 6 to 7 years now. And I've been on various radio stations with that platform. So once I launched the podcast network and I started putting things in place for the radio station with my company, I ultimately brought the brand over to UG Digital. So what I have been doing for the last 4 months with the Entertainment Plug is Saturday mornings from 10 until noon Eastern Standard Time. I'll have 2 guests on, each get an hour or 45 minutes to And those are up and coming artists, and then they're also mainstream. So depending on who I can get booked, I usually can get whoever I'm looking for, but I do try to lean more toward the up and coming artists just to try to help them get some plug and some promotion and publicity and that sort of thing. I am a part of a radio network called Urban Influencer. So with Urban Influencer, weekly on Monday nights, we actually come together, and they do this actually every day of the week. I just generally get on the calls on Mondays, but they bring together several artists. So it may be 2 artists, 3 artists, 4 or 5, and they'll bring them on, and it's an opportunity for these artists to get to know radio programmers, journalists, publicists. So it's probably about anywhere from 15 to 20 of us on a call on Monday nights from 7 to 9. And they introduce themselves. These are my singles. This is my music. This is how I got started. This is where I am. Blase, blase. Some of them will have questions. And then ultimately, everybody will set up interviews for their respective platforms. And then this gets them the publicity and, some of the shine that they need. And the ability to get their music on radio, which is so difficult if you work for mainstream radio. It's hard to get your music played. So, they have a lot of up and coming. But then, just last month they had the artist Major, and he had the huge hit. This is why I love you. But I mean, he's had so many other hits as well, and he's nominated for Grammys and everything right now. He's all over Instagram stunting, and all that. But he was on the call, and they had Adrian Marcel on a couple weeks ago, and Adrian Marcel came into the business through Raphael Sadiq and Tony. And so that they have a lot of, again, some of them are mainstream, and then most of them are independent, up and coming, and just trying to get their name out there. But the people who are behind Urban Influencer, they have been in the industry for 10, 20, 30 plus years. So they have connections to a lot of the major acts, and they can sometimes get them on the calls too. But it's a nice arena and atmosphere just to be in. It helps me to grow my radio station as well.
I know I understand. I understand that.
When I say, as far as the radio piece, even though I've worked in radio in the past, I'm so green to it. So I'm literally coming in here and just running with it and seeing what I can do with it. And it's going well. It's going very well, and I'm happy. I'm grateful for the opportunities that I've gotten, and I'm just running with it.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, you know what? I appreciate you, and this was so much fun. But before I have, 3 more questions. So one,
I talk forever, so I hope I'm not dragging on.
No, you're not. Oh no, no, what we were talking in the back of the green room. I was just a talk. Yeah. So I have 3 questions. My first question is, so what is your what's next? What do you see yourself doing next?
Well, I think that, in all honesty, I haven't really put together the what's next yet, because the what's next was the radio station.
Gotcha.
So now that I have that going, I know that that's going to take me, a number of years to really get it to where I feel like I really want it to be, or at least in that direction.
Yes.
I've looked at some other things. I mean, I have an amazing publicist. She's in the Atlanta area, and she's under Bright Star Talent and Management. So I have an amazing publicist, and when I tell you, like, she has worked her hardest to try and get me in the rooms with some of the biggest people out here, even the Tyler Perrys, just in terms of trying out for roles and that sort of thing. And it just hasn't really been a passion to me. So, again, when I say that everything is about passion and purpose, passion right now, it is. So, like, to be able to do something like that, would I love to get Tyler Perry? And I mean, I've interviewed a number of his stars from his different programs on my platforms and in the magazine, which I love. But to get in that type of arena where I'm trying, I was like, it's not my passion. So I can't really give you my all with it, because I'm going to want to do something else. So I don't really know.
Okay.
Um,
Okay, though.
really put it together because I really want to nourish, the baby that is UT
Yeah,
Digital. Like
I
I
get it.
love
I
all
get
of
it.
this, and I just, I think the biggest thing that I get from doing all of this is I can tell the story that I want, the way that I want, and I'm
Right.
going to be told, you can't talk to this person, or you
Right.
have to ask them this, or this is what people want. I'm not on this stuff. Like I want something encouraging, and I want to know how are they dealing with the stuff that's going on here,
Exactly.
and this political stuff that's going on. Like, the thing that I loved about, Faith Evans and, having the opportunity to connect with her is that you really got her real life.
Yeah.
So, people would, be talking about why is she not singing and what's going on with this and that sort of thing. And I'm like, she's singing, but her focus is her baby who is special
Right.
needs, and she's fighting the school systems to make sure that he's getting the stuff. Like I can relate to that kind of stuff because I have a kid. So
Right.
a lot of people have been able to relate to that because so many of us are dealing with kids with special needs and they have ADHD and they have, they're depressed. And so to be able to connect with somebody on that level with something that's really affecting your life, that's the type of stuff that I like to cover and talk about and do, with my podcast and magazine and that sort of thing. So I think that's why I've been as successful as I have been and why it's gone for 24 years that I've been doing this.
Absolutely.
My first interview was Kelly Price, and
Ooh.
so it's like to look all the way back to then, which was 2003 that I interviewed the two of them. So to look all the way back to then and to be now in 2025, and I'm still doing it and still able to connect with the likes of them and so many others, like I can't be nothing but grateful and happy.
I know that's right. I understand that. So then my second question is, all these amazing accomplishments and all that you're doing, and I always ask everybody, do you have a vision board? And if so, what's one thing that's on your vision board?
I do have a vision board. I think the biggest thing that really was on my vision board and the way that I started off with it was, and in the beginning, I just said I want to build a media empire. So
yeah, was mine. That was mine. I have media, and look, it was this small, and now my media company is this big. So I get it.
But it was just like I love doing vision boards. Now I really want to get to where I'm doing it once a month, like a special somebody told me, but I'm not there yet.
Thanks.
What I did with it, and I love being able to go back and edit and change things and say, okay, well, this is how I want this to look. And the way that it really branched out, because in the beginning, I didn't know, truthfully, I didn't know what I wanted to do with it.
Yeah.
It was just a magazine in the beginning. And it's like, okay, well, what do I want to do with this magazine or whatever? It never dawned on me that, okay, I really have and can continue to touch on all aspects of media. So, whether it's TV or whether it's podcasting or whether it's radio, and, that sort of thing. I guess my biggest thing on there was building my media empire. And I just constantly go back and just make adjustments as far as what I feel like I want to do. People that I feel like I want to bring on. Like I can't exactly, well, I can tell you off air, but like there's a couple projects that I'm working on, actually 3 projects that I'm working on for this year now, which one of them honestly just came about a week ago, and I added it to the vision board. So it's like I'm constantly dreaming and kind of reimagining things, and again, I attribute that to my mother because my mother, like that, has always been the thing that's been instilled in me. Even if I felt like I failed at something, she would tell me, "Oh well, he failed the bar exam twice, and he got back, and he did it." So it's like I've always known that I can do it. So, but vision boards are so helpful to me, and I had a friend who was designing vision boards, and because that's how I got on it. Like I didn't know anything about it at one point, and I had an artistic friend who was designing his vision board for the fashion week. And when I looked at his, I'm like, wow, like, can you do one of those for me? And it was like, okay, I can really put this together myself if I just sit down and
I get it. I love me a vision board. And actually, Kat says she's done a vision board the past 2 years. It
Yeah,
really helps visualize your goals.
it does.
That is actually the premises behind Vision Made. I love me some vision board. I
Yeah.
do one. Yes, it is me who does one every 30 days because our vision, but let's be honest, our vision and goals do change. So, and I'm obsessed with them. I love
I
to
think
sit
it's amazing though. Like
yeah.
to write down, and I was gonna say my sister really put me onto that, but actually what my sister was telling me, which helped me tremendously. And I mean, when you think about it now, it's like, well, duh, like, but there were so many things that I wanted to do, and my problem was that I never wrote anything down. So
Yeah.
it was just like, okay, well, I want to do this, and then I want to do this, and then my sister, and this is before I had even graduated college or anything, because my journey, I got kicked out of school twice before I sat out for 5 years and then figured it out and said, take yourself back to school and get your degree.
Right.
But my sister was like, okay, well, what do you want to do? What do you
Hmm.
need to do to make this happen? And then what are the steps that you're going to need to do? And as I really started breaking stuff down, it just became clear to me that, okay, well, if I write this stuff down, then it'll make more sense. And then I can figure out how to pull some of this stuff together. So like writing stuff down and taking notes and vision boards, like it's like God. Like
Yeah.
I love it. So I can see being obsessed with it. I can see
Yeah.
doing it monthly now since you told me that. And
Yeah.
before
I love that.
I just go back and kind of edit and that sort of thing. But
Exactly. Exactly.
I,
That's all it is.
so
I love it.
it's the
So
best thing since sliced bread. So
that's right. I know that's right. So if anybody wanted to get connected to you, how can they reach out and get connected to you?
um well my email is James Grant Johnson Jr. at gmail.com.
Okay.
I think aside from that, I would say just in terms of social media, the best way to get me is Instagram. Everybody's like, they talk about the DMs and all that kind of stuff, but I really do answer my DMs.
Oh,
I answer my DMs. I like to be able to help people figure stuff out. Actually, one of the projects that I'm working on, I had somebody reach out to me yesterday. And we've been connected for the longest. And he
yes.
saw something I posted, and he's like, "Well, how do I?" And this is how you do it. And it's what I love to be able to help people. So I think that's probably the quickest way to get me is to
Okay.
send me something on Instagram because I'm generally on my phone all day long. Like
Listen, man.
I might be pushing 50, but I still act like I'm 16. So
I know that's right. I know that's right. I know that's right. I get you. Kat, if you're still on here, I want to hear what your win is for this week while we wait for you to drop it in the feed. So, James, what's your win for this week?
um, and to be honest, it has nothing to do with any of the media stuff.
It doesn't. It's okay.
My biggest win this week is just maintaining the relationship that I have between my son and my ex-wife. And
That's awesome.
like it sounds cheesy.
No, it is.
It
No,
sounds cheesy, but it's huge to me
I
because
understand.
like I keep up with my son and I'm like, I'm not the hover dad. So
Right.
like when I tell you I have not been in his dorm room since the day I moved him in. And it's right here in the city. I see him all the time, but I have not been in his dorm room because I love it. Stood on boundaries. I stand
Yeah.
on the boundaries and I'm like, at the end of the day, as much as he's still a big baby and he need us all, he's still grown.
Yeah.
So I kind of let him do his own thing. And I am very cognizant of the fact that if he needs me, he will call me or he'll
Right.
text me or he'll send me a Cash App request as he did yesterday or that sort of thing. And then just my ex-wife. When you think of in terms of people who support you, and obviously she's an ex for a reason. So we both at some
Right.
point or another was just like, nah, and I don't want to be. But the reality is she has been one of my biggest supporters since the day that I've known her.
I
So like she supports everything. We've been on this chat on this video, and she did already sent me a text message said, lunch or dinner on me next week. What day you want to go?
Oh, that's awesome. That's a great relationship to have.
And I strive to maintain those relationships because like if I don't have that, then none of this stuff matters. Like
right.
If my son is mad at me, which is I want to think that it's barely ever, but he probably has his moments, and that's probably when I don't hear from him for 3 or 4 days. But I just think that like everything is driven by him. So like
true.
the house that I'm in and all the space that I have is because of him.
Right.
And, like everything that I'm doing is because of him. So like if I don't have him and I don't have their support and their love and that sort of thing, then I will absolutely turn all this stuff off. And I have done it before because I was like, there's too much going on. And I at one point I shut all this down for about 2 weeks. And then it was like, I gotta do it again. So
I understand. I get it. Well, to be mindful, because I know you have a show after this. But real quick, but my win for this week is I'm with you, Kat. I've learned how to know my boundaries and understand who can sit with me at my table that I've created.
That is so powerful.
And trust me, it took me to now to really understand the boundaries and to understand who can come and sit at my table. And not everybody can come to my table. So that is one thing I've been really honing in. I've been really working on that due to the fact of I want to, as you and I talked offline, I want to take the magazine and the podcast to another level. I can't have everybody sitting in my ear and sitting on my space. And so that is why I have been really focusing on that. So I want to say thank you, James, for coming in. This was so fun. We'll have to have you come back on. This was a blast. As I knew. Miss Kat, we're going to have you join us the next time. You were great as well. And I appreciate you both. James, I'm going to put you in the green room. I'll be right back with you.
Okay.
Okay, guys, did you get your nuggets? I got nuggets left and right. And James, I love where he says everything he does is what you do. It has to make you happy. And I can say that I'm doing right now has made me happy. And I feel full. And I'm knowing what I'm doing, what God has put in me to do. And so knowing that, I hope this has inspired and empowered you to go after your what's next, no matter what. And as we always talked about, we also talked about if you're in corporate, I'm where I am too, but still knowing that you are out here doing what you want to do and loving what you want to do. And again, I hope tonight's show has inspired you. If not inspired you, just put a little spark in you to think about what your what's next is. Until next week, you guys, when I have on another amazing guest, as I always do, go out here and have your vision be made and knowing that you only have one life to live. So live it to the fullest. Until next week, you guys, you rock, you're amazing, and take care. Bye.